I guess they snore too. Just introduce you and your wife, your names, and where you live.
Well, I'm Terri Harps. And this is my wife, Marcia, and we live in Ellenwood, Georgia.
Ellenwood? Is that north?
That's southeast of Atlanta.
Southeast.
Just a few miles.
Yeah. How long have y'all been married?
28.
Almost 29. This coming November.
Got married young.
Well, not really. We dated for about 12. We met and dated for about 12 years before we got married. We met in high school. So.
Now, did you have a snoring problem?
Did I have a snoring problem? She had the snoring problem. I was snoring, but it was her problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's true.
I experienced that.
Yeah.
What's
I didn't know I was snoring.
You
At least
know.
not to that extent.
Well, I'm sure she told you.
A few times.
How was that? I mean, how you married 28, almost 29 years. For how long has snoring been an issue?
Going an issue. I think he always snored, but I think it progressively became worse over the years. So, I guess maybe 7 or 8 years. Yeah, within the last 10 years, 7 and 8 years, right, where it became a nightly issue, and I realized I'm not getting any sleep. That was the issue, and it was also irritating. And really it became an issue when we started to travel on vacations, because I started finding myself looking around, where can I sleep? Really, it was like, okay, if it was a 1-bedroom, where can I sleep? The bathroom, the sofa.
And we were in Japan, for example, and so you're staying in a hotel room, and so you have no other room to go to. Or I remember one night we were staying in a hotel in Rwanda, and you just have your room.
Or you start thinking the lobby. I can go to the lobby. And
Did you do that?
I did one time. I didn't say all night, but you think, where can I go that's safe? And people are always going in and out the lobby, but I can sit there and I can be,
So is he a loud snorer?
Yes.
Would you try to move him and hit him
Move
with the
him,
pillow?
pillows over my head, move him, the bathroom, and sit on the commode, because you think and then your head against the wall, because you're looking for, what's frustrating is it's time, you start watching the clock and it's half an hour, another hour, and another hour, and then the fear of, I'm not going to get any sleep. It's going to be early morning and I'm not going to have any sleep. So
I was fine.
What's it like for you now?
it's much better. It's significantly better. Jen, I don't think about sleeping someplace else. I used to think that. I used to think, oh, if it's bedtime, where am I going to go? Or if we have company and the guest bedrooms are taken up, where can I go? Because I've got to find a place. So I don't think of that. I think of going to bed. So occasionally he does snore, but it's not to the intensity he used to. Or I can tell him to move, turn on his side, he will. And there are times when he sleeps really peacefully, and it's like a gift. It's like, oh, I slept all night and you slept all night.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
And then I'm not irritable toward him, because you start holding resentment. You start getting angry, like, I have to suffer because of what you're doing, and it's not fair.
Okay, can I pause for
I like him already.
Don't encourage. Don't encourage.
So,
All right,
so it's
thank
much
you.
The
better.
animals. Did you think, Marcia, that, it wasn't bothering Terrence, obviously, but did you think this is just it? This is what I'm in for? There's no solution? Or were you actively looking for...
I was actively looking, because I knew I couldn't continue this. I knew. No, I really did. I knew. My father snored. And so as a child, I remember hearing him through the walls. And I knew, no, this will affect the marriage. I had considered moving into another room. And I thought, I can't live like this.
Yeah.
And it was a problem no more than if there was another medical problem. It's like, seek help. So that's how I saw it.
So are you the one that found out about this?
Yes, and I'm trying to think how I found out about.
Did you go on the internet?
No, I didn't.
Did you see a commercial?
I think it was a referral from a friend, just a conversation, and somehow we became aware of Dr. Herman.
Okay.
So
So tell me what that was like when you came over and, or do you remember telling Terrence, hey,
Yes.
I found something for you?
Yes, I do remember. I remember at least initially, the subject. And he wasn't very receptive to the idea.
Well, it sounds like surgery, right?
Right, it was I use the term procedure. I think I came to see Dr. Herman, yes, by myself and told him about the problem. And Terrence wasn't, I mean, he didn't say no, he did not. But I could tell,
I don't know if I could say no, but
I don't think he didn't realize how severe it had become for me. That's what it was. He didn't think it was that severe, but it was.
Yeah.
By the time I spoke, it had become that severe. But so I let him chew on it a little bit, and I think he agreed to come and meet Dr. Herman. Right.
And what was that like, Terrence?
well, I knew there was a problem. By that point, I knew we had a problem that had to get solved. So, and that's what I focus on. You know, once you understand what the problem is, I don't dwell on those things. It's well, what do we do to get to the next step? And so I took it very much as a matter of fact. And he looked at me and said, "This is what I recommend, and we could do it in-house." And
Right.
you might be a little uncomfortable the first day, but then after that, you'll get better quickly, and that's what happened.
So the day that you got the procedure, was it surprising that it wasn't as, I mean, it's in implanting,
Mhm.
but were you pleasantly surprised? What was your reaction to the whole process?
Well, yeah, well, whenever someone does an invasive procedure in your nose or throat, that's going to be uncomfortable. But it didn't last long, and I think that was the pleasant thing. And then I got to eat smoothies or something for the rest of the day, so that was fine.
And then how long after you had it done did you start to notice, Marcia,
It's better because his first procedure was in the throat,
Right.
where they clipped the palate or
Stabilized it by putting implants.
implants. All right. So how long? I can't remember, Jim, but it was some, but it didn't help as much as I thought. So
And he widened my nasal.
I went back to Dr. Herman and said it's not as effective as I thought. So he suggested another procedure. He said I can look at his palate, and then another procedure where he widens the nasal passages. So which I knew, I've got to present this to Terrence. He may not want to do this again. So I felt kind of caught in between.
And she's right. I didn't want to do it, but that has nothing to do with it.
But he did, right?
You know?
I
And
mean,
if you value your marriage, which I do, and your relationship, which I do, you do the things that you need to do to keep it so.
So which procedure was the pillar procedure?
the second.
The second one.
Yeah. What was the first?
First.
The first was the pillar
You
procedure.
had 2 pillar procedures done.
Oh, really?
You had 3 implants the first time and came back for 2
Two
additional.
more because
Right.
Dr.
Yeah.
Herman said I've done 3. I can.
Okay.
I said what else can? I said it's not as effective. And we were getting ready to go to Africa, and I was worried because I thought, okay, here we go again, another vacation. What's going to happen? We're going to get over there, and I'm not going to have anywhere to sleep. And he, so right, he came back. That's right, for 2 more, and then he also suggested another procedure, and Terrence did agree, which I was really. I knew I had to be honest. I knew I couldn't bring him in here and think that he's just going to get another pillar procedure. So, and that helped, but he was willing to help. And then he did the nasal. And it was, like you said, invasive. Because I wasn't there for the first pillar procedure, but the second time I was. And so I saw what discomfort he was going through. And I felt for him.
There are going to be some points for a while.
But I also knew that long-term wise, it affects the marriage.
Yeah.
It affects not only just sleeping, it affects, it just affects it. So you have to feel comfortable.
So how long has it been since you had the second procedure done?
About 2 years, 2 or 3
It's been
years.
2, not 3, because we went to Africa last year, I guess.
About a couple of years.
Yeah.
And
Well, the biggest thing I noticed, other than Marcia, I went up to visit my father about 9 months ago, and I slept in the room adjacent to him. And the next morning, he wondered if I had slept well because he didn't hear me snoring. And I told him about the procedure and what we did, and so that's when I really realized how beneficial the procedure was.
would you recommend the procedure to anyone?
Oh, absolutely. I share their experience with a lot of my friends, and they're more than just casually interested in what I went through and what the result was. So, absolutely.
How do you describe it when you're talking to your friend? That it was just an outpatient, minor discomfort, or what do you say about it?
I tell them that I used to snore, now I don't.
And you know you have these implants. And
Yeah, and then some will ask what was done, and I tell them that they widened my nasal passages and made sure that my palate didn't vibrate quite as much, and that resolved the issues. And it's inpatient, and it's worth doing.
What was want to get a comment about Dr. Herman as a medical professional and his staff here. Is there anything y'all can say about coming here?
And I've run into Dr. Herman a few times because I work at the airport, and he's become a family friend. He's very interested, very concerned about how well you're doing. His focus is on overall health as well, so he doesn't confine his perspective to just the ear, nose, and throat. But within that, he's very approachable. He wants to understand what your issues are, and he listens.
That's what I'm saying. I was waiting till you finish. Yeah, he is approachable, and he does. I felt the initial time when I met him, and each time he listened to me, and he listened to Terrence and I wrote, and gave credence to what my thoughts were. It wasn't, okay, this is just a lady. So, and yes, the overall health issue of Terrence.
Terrence, were all your procedures done at the office? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Everything was done right here. Come in, sit down. I think when we had the procedure done, he made sure Marcia was here to take me home. But it's pretty simple. You know, as I go back and reflect upon it, the time I invested in getting this corrected was minuscule compared to the benefit that we've gotten from it. So,
What are your thoughts about office versus having to go to the hospital? Were you glad?
I'd much rather go to an office.
Yeah, I think it's not as
Intimidating.
Right.
And just the ease of coming to a private office, you know,
Yes.
just parking alone.
Right, exactly.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, you know, when you go to an office to get something done, you have a pretty good feeling you're going to be able to go back home walking on your own. When you go into a hospital, you get a little more concerned about what the result might be. So it's a lot more relaxing. And the staff here, they've seen you before. They know why you're here. So there's less process to go through.
That's true.
And so it works much better.
Yeah. Dr. Herman's a relaxed person. His personality, his temperament, very relaxed. So that helps a lot.
But recently I saw him at the airport, and I met his wife and 2 children, and told them that this is a guy that saved my marriage. So that was pretty good.
That's pretty good endorsement.
Yeah,
You're serious.
No, I'm very right. And then meeting some of the other couples, it's like, okay. And I think it's an issue that it's common, but people don't discuss it that much. It's not as, or
you just think you have to live. This is what you're in for.
Right. Well, I think what helped, Terrence was willing, and we took it as this is an issue that we need to work and solve. And there's got to be a procedure. And so there was. And that's interesting hearing that you say about your friends. I think some family members of his, you know, to consider that. You don't just have to accept it. You know.
Really good comments. Anything else you want to say that I didn't ask you?
I never thought Terrence would do a commercial with us.
I never birthday, you would sit here and do what?
You guys are great.